Hey, it's Craig. I'm here with Angie Veros, longtime friend and sourcer and recruiter extraordinaire in our industry and speaker on the circuit that I get to interact with on a regular basis. She is also the organizer of Talent 42, which is an ERE media event now, and lots of other things. So, Angie, how are you? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm good. And thank you for such a nice introduction, Craig. It's good to see you. And as usual, you look wonderful. I'm excited that we're having this conversation. And thank you for taking the time to do this with me.
Absolutely. So, tell us a little bit about what you do and what's going on with you lately.
Yeah, no. So I feel like I'm kind of all over the place lately. I have been in the recruiting space for 15 years, a little bit over 15 years. I am a stockbroker turned recruiter. I have worked for small, large organizations. I started my own company a number of years ago because I wanted to be take it to a different level and be an entrepreneur. And I've always had this desire to speak at conferences. Well, now obviously we're not doing that because of obvious reasons. And so I went from being a speaker at a number of conferences to organizing one, which you just mentioned, Talent 42, and participated at your conference as well, TalentNet. So I love sourcing. I love anything related to recruiting. I'm a huge fan of anything that's talent acquisition related, and thrilled to have conversations with like-minded folks like yourself. And I'm really excited about, what's to come next.
All right. So this podcast, as has been the last few, part of our special sourcing series in the Inside Talent podcast, is brought to us by Visage.jobs, where you can crowdsource sourcing. Fairly amazing product where they built an AI platform for both the sourcers and the customers to get accurate results in sourcing. And it really works. I've used it, played with it, and done all kinds of fun things with it. And it's very handy. You are doing some sort of diversity sourcing work in Europe for Visage and their customers. So can you tell me a little bit about what some of the hurdles are you find in trying to do diversity sourcing and recruiting in Europe right now?
Sure. So I can tell you that it's been difficult. There are a number of roles that we are trying to fill in countries like Germany, France, Czech Republic, and we are looking for diverse talent, female engineers mostly, or female talent that have an extremely different background from what you would consider like the day-to-day. So from a data scientist to an engineer who has automotive experience or railway experience. And so you typically wouldn't think that you would be looking for ladies doing this job, but there are ladies that do this job. And doing the searches and trying to find these folks has been extremely difficult. However, I don't stop, and I think that we've had some success. It's a project that my team and I just started working on not even a week ago. Hopefully as just time goes by, we'll be able to uncover some really great talent. But working on the Visage platform has been great, and they've got some upcoming new features. So really excited to partner up with them.
Yeah, I think their new feature set is launching today or tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yep, and I've seen it. It's amazing. I'm looking forward to it. And I am producing a global recruiting festival for Visage on October 8th, where they will debut those new features to their user community and to the sourcing community. And you will probably be a big part of that as well. I'm looking forward to it.
Likewise.
Yeah, right. And so that'll be a 2-hour event starting at, I think, 10 a.m. Eastern time. On October 8th, and more details to come about that. There are other events coming up, but the Talent 42 conference that you are producing, which is November 9th and 10th. Is that right?
Correct.
And then we've got TalentNet coming up on November 20th. You and I are going to volunteer to participate in each other's events. So tell me what some of the highlights are about Talent 42 coming up.
Yes, so I'm super excited this year. I mean, Talent 42 is an amazing event. It brings all the technical recruiting folks together, engineers, and things that you wouldn't think that you would hear at an average recruiting conference. So we've got folks obviously like yourself that's going to participate. We've got infamous Mark Tortorici, who's going to participate. Last year, he did a talk on how to use APIs to source, and that was really interesting. So I'm excited that he'll be back. We've got folks from all over the place. We've got people joining us from, the large organizations, the Googles and the Amazons of the world, and then we have some smaller companies that are participating as well. And we're going to talk about all things technical recruiting. There are a few engineers that are going to be joining us. As a matter of fact, there is I don't want to give it away, but there is a gentleman who is going to be joining us who may or may not be known in our industry by name, but there's a photo of him that has made him quite famous, and I'm not revealing it yet. We will market him, but he is someone that is quite interesting who will give us his perspective from technical recruiting based in Europe as well. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be exciting. We're going to talk all things technical recruiting. We're going to talk about the current situation and how that's affecting. Oh, and we are also going to have Jerry participate, Jerry Crispin, which we all know who Jerry is. He's putting together an amazing panel on technical recruitment globally. And I think we've covered every continent from South Africa to Australia, Singapore, Latin America, and there's one more, and it's escaping me, and London. So it's going to be pretty interesting. So I guess the silver lining of not attending a physical event and doing a virtual event is that we can gather all these folks from all different continents into one platform and have them give us their expertise.
And we did that just recently for Global TA Day, which was amazing, 14 hours spanning all time zones. And what a crazy deal that was. So I produced that event, and I had to do speaker training for 2 days prior to the 14-hour marathon event on the Hop-In platform, which both your event and the upcoming Talent Net will also be on. And that's an engaging platform. It's really immersive for the attendee. So I highly recommend checking out Talent 42. It will be a really good event, as it always is. And then Talent Net is coming up on November 20th. That has been traditionally a more regional event in Dallas and Austin, but people from all over the world come in for it. In Austin, especially because they're already there for South by Southwest. And so it does have sort of national and global recognition now as one of the top events in the Southern United States, which is pretty cool. And so we'll have a lot of local Fortune 500 talent acquisition leaders as part of that, but also some of our favorite national and global speakers like the Torrin Ellises of the world, and of course Angie Veros.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you. And Torrin's amazing. I'm excited to see him too.
Yeah. And so speaking of this sort of global thing that we're doing now, we've been sort of hanging out with all these wonderful global sourcers and recruiters online and at various events, HR Tech and the Europe conferences and SourceCon for several years. And we know them pretty well. Some of them go back all the way to the original Talent Net and True London's with me, and then there are a lot of new faces as well. And it's odd because Talent Net started as a Twitter chat. It was the original Twitter chat for recruiters, and back then we all did Twitter all the time, and then Twitter kind of died down for a while, and now Twitter's a hot place to hang out again. I mean, at least for a lot of the recruiting and sourcing community. So you have any thoughts on that? Do you want to stay away? What's your thinking there?
So I like Twitter, I still use Twitter. I'd have to say that I'm more of a Twitter user when I attend events or when I follow them online, which, by the way, kudos to Global TA Day. I followed it. I didn't follow the entire thing, but I was in and out of the platform, and I think Hopin is an amazing platform. So I'm really excited that we'll be using that for some of the future events. I like Twitter. I've actually taken a step back from Facebook. Just too much noise on Facebook. So I'll go in from time to time, but I'm not that active. And Twitter, I think I can go and I can interact with our peers. I can go into Twitter and I can look at some news and, anything that's relating to our business. And so I really do like it. I never thought that, maybe I'm a little old school, but I never really thought that Twitter kind of went away. I thought that it was always there, but maybe it was just me using it. But I really do like Twitter, and I'm glad that you mentioned that it's back up and live, because I'm definitely on the platform.
Yeah, it was certainly always there. One of the things that I preach, as you know, is consistency, right? Don't just ramp up your social profile when you need something. Always be there contributing if you can be, and that's the key to long-term success. So I as well never really went away, but I know that some people thought Twitter was kind of dying and jumped onto new platforms. Instagram became real popular for a while, and it's kind of back and forth, but Twitter is really soaring. So when the stock price went down recently, I bought some.
Oh, so did I. I bought some Twitter. I mentioned I am a stockbroker turned recruiter.
Yeah.
And I've always followed the stock market. And as a matter of fact, I think I bought on one of the lowest days this year, March 16th, I think was when the market crashed. And not only did I buy Twitter, but I bought some other really great names like Tesla, which just did a 4-to-1 split, Peloton, couple really great things. So I've been following it. I don't give any advice because I'm not a stockbroker anymore. However, yes, I do own Twitter, and I did just see a feed on LinkedIn that Twitter is hiring. I don't remember what the number is, but they're building a sourcing team, and they're hiring a number of remote sourcers and recruiters. So they've got something going on.
They do. And I think that this is going to build a case that, Twitter is rapidly becoming, again, a place to source and interact with talent.
Yes.
Our original conversations on Twitter back in 2008 is social media good for recruiting? I mean, that's all we talked about. We had the TalentNet Twitter chat became a weekly webinar or webcast, that we all jumped online and chatted, but then it became a podcast. And, when we had our weekly chats, Jerry Albright from the Recruiting Animal Show was always on, and he would create a Pandora playlist for each week's event and share the link with everyone so we could all have drinks together to the same music while we were chatting for 2 hours. And this thing went on from like 8 to 10 p.m. on Wednesdays. I think it was Wednesdays or Thursdays for several years. And Bill Borman was constantly on at 1 a.m. his time, and lots of those other folks. And we did prove after a while that Twitter could be really good for recruiting. And then, the talk about it, again, kind of died down for a while. And now I think that there's something to it. Back in the day, Lars and I went there and did some work. We actually did a cool tools show from Twitter's headquarters in 2011, maybe, or 2012. And then we went back and did it again and brought Jennifer McClure and William Tincup, somebody else. Anyway, Twitter's an interesting place, right? I mean, they've gone through some ups and downs with their leadership. They have an open campus where you don't really have an assigned seat. You can sit near anybody anytime. You might be sitting next to the CFO one day, but you certainly don't leave your stuff hanging out because somebody might move it.
Sure. No, I like Twitter, and I like Twitter for sourcing as well. As a matter of fact, two speakers that I engaged with were through direct messages. I wasn't able to get a response from email or from a LinkedIn message.
Mhm.
And so I followed them on Twitter and sent a direct message saying, I sent you a message. I sent you an email. I'd be interested in speaking with you about participating at Talent 42. And I got responses.
Yeah.
So it does go to show you it does work. And there are dozens and dozens of tools that you can use to mine Twitter as well.
Oh, yeah.
Even a simple Boolean string
Mhm.
in Twitter, you can find people on Twitter. So I'm all about, while I'm a little bit old school and I still use Boolean and I create it by myself to go out and find people,
Yeah.
I do like testing out tools and seeing what works and what doesn't. I feel like you have to, because there's so many different techniques in trying to find, this uncover talent.
You know what I like a lot? I set up and I think it's an IFTTT formula years ago to add all new Twitter followers to a Google Sheet.
Yeah.
Right. So I have that. And then I will take a tool like Nymeria or, name one, and I'll go through and source all the email addresses on that sheet. Because it's online, you can do it in batch. And so then I'll regularly send out an email to all those new Twitter followers and introduce myself or send some news item or whatever. And the response is really good. And I show them how I did it. And they always like that. They always think that's cool. And, I'm a big fan of revealing the recipe. And,
Sure.
If you teach people how to fish, they'll still ask you to help them do it, which is
Absolutely. Which
I've always
I think
treated customers.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think that is something you could talk about at Talent 42. I'm going to put you on the spot, but I remember attending one of your events and you talked about how to market yourself and how to include your keywords in your LinkedIn profile, and how when you do a search, you pop up at the very top. And I may have stolen a couple of your techniques and shared with my network at some point, because some people will reach out and they'll say, how do I optimize my LinkedIn profile? So I usually will reference one of your presentations to go there. But you're absolutely right. If you teach them, they will always come back and ask those questions. But there's so much, Craig. I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to ask you a question. But how do you know what to use and what and when and where and how to stop discovering? I mean, there's so many tools out there. How do you know?
So you kind of have to experiment, right? And you can't have all of your doodads on your Chrome browser, or now you can import those to different browsers. You can't have them all open all the time because they'll suck up all your memory, right? And so you have to turn them on one at a time, or two or three at a time, and check on each platform which ones are currently working best for you. And sometimes you just need one email address or one contact number. And so that might be a different tool. And so I keep a log of which tools are good for which. It's not quite to the extent of Dean DaCosta, but I constantly know what my go-tos are. And then I constantly interview the companies that are coming out with new tech. And I talk to their engineers. I want to know what's behind what's under the hood with this, and how does it really work? So I get very in depth. Not everybody needs to go that far, but just play with these tools on a regular basis and try to develop like a mailing list for anything, right? For your local school organization, or for a hobby that, something that you're selling on Etsy or whatever it is. Try to use standard marketing techniques to develop a mailing list and see which of these tools work for you, because if it's good for marketing, it certainly is good for recruiting.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. I do the same. I try and test out tools, and I have a lot of browsers open up, but luckily there's one tab, and so we can immediately reduce that.
Yes.
And now that you mentioned Dean DaCosta, Extensity, you can minimize all of your extensions. So I'm a geek when it comes to testing out new tools as well. And I do like to uncover and see what works and what doesn't, because there's too many. There's a lot of tools out there, but I do have my go-to favorites as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when I'm in recruiting mode, I am certainly keeping track and putting check marks by all the tools that I've used, in that search. And so I can go back and repeat it, and I can help a customer repeat it. And, lots of times I'm just recruiting to prove a point. Here is how you, global recruiting team, can do this. I just proved it, and I documented my process.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's great. That's awesome. Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah.
All right. So, yes, we will be talking more about this at the Visage Global Recruitment Festival, October 8th, and
Correct.
at Talent 42, November 9th and 10th,
Correct.
and at TalentNet on November 20th. Lots
Yeah.
of good, low
Yes.
cost, or free or close to free events coming up that you can participate in. Angie, Veros, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your time, Craig.
You are a treasure as always, and I'll see you soon.